What's your feelings right now?
My gut tells me that Michigan is the far superior team, but that you always have to account for this being the rivalry game and this being the game that Michigan State cares about the most. And Michigan, despite the talent disparity, they need to realize that too and have to elevate this game for themselves in order to win accordingly.
To answer the bell.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, I suspect going through what they went through last year, Michigan and getting to the college football playoff, they have that taste they want to get back. They know they've got a team that can get back. And one of the stumbling blocks is Michigan State, but it's also part of a revenge tour because State's one of the two teams that beat them last year. They're not happy about it. They didn't like the way that it ended up. But now they've got them on their own turf, under the lights, and I just think the matchups, the way things set up, Michigan is a team that can run the football very well. They've got two outstanding running backs, and they've got a really good offensive line, at least what they've shown so far this year. They absolutely demoralized Penn State, 418 yards on the ground. If I was Michigan, I would keep everything on the ground, march down the field, have 6 drives in the game that are 80 yards, 75-yard drives that end up in touchdowns because you just ran it down their throat. That's what I would do if I was Jim Harbaugh. Don't even worry about throwing the ball with J.J. McCarthy. Run the ball, hand it off. Both of these backs can end up getting 150 yards plus like they did last game against Penn State. And that's what I would do. The only thing that can stop that for Michigan State is if the changes they made for Wisconsin, getting healthier as a team, getting guys back and having this bye week coming at a good time, that can make a difference. I don't think it can make enough difference, but I think it can make a difference. And it's not like Wisconsin. They're not world beaters. They're not some juggernaut offensively. But for Michigan State to show up like they did against Wisconsin, getting a couple guys back that are nowhere near 100%, but they still played, they made a difference. Xavier Henderson made a difference. Slade made a difference on that line. Moving Widman to linebacker made a difference. Now that he's had another week of practice of playing that linebacker position, is that something that's really going to pay dividends for Michigan State? I don't know.
My early read is if Michigan State wins this game, Penn State's wildly overrated. Michigan State, you're right, is going to give Michigan their best punch. You're also right, and one of the questions that was asked of the players and Jim Harbaugh is, does the results in this series from recent years impact what happens Saturday? And impact your motivation to win this game? And Jim Harbaugh said, no question. All the players talked about the bus ride back last year, about how it was awfully quiet, and how they, showed some resolve and bounced back. The bye week, I was thinking about what each team wants to get better at during the bye week. With Michigan, I suspect it's connecting on the deep ball. I mean, if what you just said about Michigan handing it off and handing it off and handing it off, and they may be able to be successful that way. But somebody's going to look at Michigan and say, okay, they run it. Their quarterback, is one of the nation's best. I haven't looked to see if he's still the nation's best in completion percentage. But where he hasn't completed passes is downfield. So we're going to stack the line and play press man and take that risk, make ourselves vulnerable to the big play, but make them make it. But Michigan looks awfully good. Like they look to be humming right along. And, the formula for Michigan is probably the same as it was in the Iowa game, in that don't turn it over. Don't give Michigan State short fields. Take care of the ball. Take what the defense gives you. And, don't help them. Whereas Michigan State, you mentioned Widman. Who's been better at creating turnovers, right?
Nobody.
And there are turnovers there to be had with Michigan State that they haven't, made that interception, right? So I think you're probably right on your read of the game. I mean, I think Michigan probably wins this game, but the path is there for Michigan State, and Michigan would probably have to help them, or Michigan State, which has happened, play above their heads.
Well, I mean, if you're going to try to craft the path for Michigan State to win, it's going to have to be something similar to what it was a few years ago when they threw the ball deep and Ricky White caught everything, right?
That was, and the guy that threw it, Rocky Lombardi.
Yeah.
Did he ever play like that ever again?
No.
And so that's, I mean, in the lore of the rivalry, right? That Rocky Lombardi performance is one of the most remarkable things that ever happened, is it not?
It's up there. It's up there with, was it Tyler O'Connor that beat Ohio State? I mean, it's up there.
Right? The old, did that just happen?
Yeah.
And with Lombardi, we didn't know at the time with Lombardi. I mean, am I wrong? Did he ever come close to playing?
No, it was just, he was, they took a page out of Penn State's book from a few years ago, and Penn State would just, yeah, exactly. Heave it up in the air, 40, 50 yards downfield, and hope that you win the 50-50 battle. And Michigan State has receivers that can win the 50-50 battle. Keon Coleman is really coming to his own this year, and Jaden Reed is an NFL player. They've got guys that can get it done. But do they have the line that can provide enough time for Peyton Thorne to step back there and throw the deep pass? Unfortunately for Michigan State, they can't run the ball. They have not shown the ability to run the ball at all this year. And usually this game comes down to, I'm sure you've got the numbers in your head somewhere, about the team that runs for more yards, and then there's a turnover battle as well. Those are the two things you look at, and that's who wins the game almost every year.